But while we wait, let me introduce myself. I'm Helen Foster. I am the Senior Director for Continuing Education and Equity, and I'm part of the OSIP team. And I'm a CUNY alum. I went to CUNY Law School. Let me just, Miraz, is that how I say it?
Miraz? Yep, correct. Exactly okay. How it is.
Exactly, but I have a knack for like messing up words. So let me just tell you a little bit about Miraz. He holds an associate's degree in computer network technology from BMCC and a bachelor of science in computer science and of information security from John Jay. And he's currently an asset configuration management specialist at the New York City Office of Technology and Innovation. And once we get going, Miraz, you can tell us, or at least me, what an asset configuration management specialist is. And oh, great, we've been joined by Stacy Jones. Welcome. Stacy holds an associate's degree in liberal arts and a bachelor's in math education from the New York City College of Technology. And she currently works as an eligibility supervisor, PAA, and you'll tell me what PAA is, for HRA Special Services Job Center in Brooklyn. So right now, Stacy and Miraz, let me see how many, I was going to say, it looks like you're preaching to the converted, but no, we have no good. We have other people on the line. If you're in a position where you can turn on your cameras, it would be great so that the panelists know that they're talking to other than me. But if that does not work for you, that's fine. We just want you here as a reminder. We are recording this session because number one, we want to keep it and be able to refer to it, but also there are people in other groups that would love to hear from it. So to start, I'd like to ask Stacy and Miraz just to tell us a little about themselves and how, their CUNY experience and then how they ended up in the public sector. So since I can see you, Stacy, do you mind starting first and then we'll go to Miraz?
Okay, sure. So my name is Stacy. I graduated from City Tech, you said. I work as a senior eligibility a senior supervisor for Human Resources Administration with HASA. So we deal with HIV/AIDS clients and we assist them getting public benefits like that. So that's what I do on a day-to-day. At City Tech, I did do math education because that's what I was more, looking forward to doing. However, life got in the way, things happen with families. So I ended up, having to continue with my career with the city. And so fortunately, I've been able to take tests and I've been promoted and moved up. So it's working out for me. I'm not saying that I'm not going to go back to my math education, but for right now, since things are moving within the city, this is where I'm at.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miraz, will you tell us a little of how you got into, well, first, I need to know what asset configuration management specialist is. And I am assuming if I don't know, maybe others don't know.
Yes, I'll try to answer that as much as possible. So my name is Miraz Ahmed. As Helen mentioned, I was a student of Borough of Manhattan Community College and John Jay College of Criminal Justice. So I studied computer network technology and information security there. So I moved here in this country 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was in Bangladesh. It was my dream to work in IT. So when I came here, I started taking interest in that. I get into college, graduated. Okay, so fast forward here. So when I was looking for a job, one of the great tool that I came across is the CUNY's City Simplicity. So then, yeah, it's a public sector. They offered a fellowship, and like, okay, yes, I definitely want to work in the public sector because that piqued my interest, and that is in the IT. So once I get in, and then there's this asset configuration management sector in the IT. So what it is? So you know that everything in the IT sector is just the top 10 to 20% is just the IT, meaning that servers, softwares, all this networking, technical equipments, everything. So who manages those? Who keeps a record of those? Is how do you do that? One of the analogy that I can give you an example of that Navy aircraft fleet. There are 7,000 employees. Do all of them a soldier? No. There are multiple sectors in there, and everything is coordinated. There is a record, there are policies, there are practices in place. Same with the IT. That's called configuration management and database. And asset is that configurations, which is I have 1,000 servers. Who owns it? Who's financing it? Which agency does it belong to? New York City IT supports almost over 130 New York City's agencies. So that's a huge lot of number. Our job is to make sure, especially my role, is to make sure that every bit of information is correct, including finance information, including the person should be notified if one of the website goes down, if there's an issue with the application, if there's an issue with 311 calls. So who gets the notification? The security, who has a security for which section? So case on point, one of the recent events that I would like to say that yes, a person who's making security firewall is really important. But at the same time, the person who's going to make the policies to make sure that who has the access in that firewall is also important. For example, very recently, there was a leak in the Pentagon. How did it get leaked? One of the most secure places on earth you can think of, and still it got managed to leak. Is it because of an IT failure? Is it because of there was a firewall issue, somebody hacked it? No, it was because a lack of policy, maybe. Maybe how did a 21-year-old reserve army personnel got access to that? So that's where the CMDB, which is the asset configuration management, comes in. That's my role. I know I took so long, but I tried to be as elaborative as possible.
That was, no, thank you. That was interesting. In my head, you're the go-to person to make things happen or not happen. I'm going to open it up to the students or those that are participating in this breakout room. You can either just jump in, put the question in the chat, or if you need a minute, I have a couple of questions. So I have the chat open. You can turn on your camera, ask the question. It's up to you. But while we wait, let me just touch on something that you said, Stacy. When you were introducing yourself, you were saying that you took tests and kept going back. Are these tests administered by the city for you to continue progressing in your job?
Yes, absolutely. So when I started as an ES, which is like coming in straight, learning the work, and then so when I started as an ES eligibility specialist, I took the test for that. And then once I started with the city, then after that, I was able to take another test to be promoted to a supervisor level 1. And then after that is based on your work and your knowledge after that. So once I was promoted to the level 2 supervisor, that was based on my work and coming in and learning. And so at that point, that's when you start doing a lot more of like the reports, doing Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, doing PowerPoint things, working with more higher ups to explain things that are going on within the center. So I still supervise a lot of people as well, because as a supervisor 1, I'm supervising people that are directly under me, and then as a supervisor 2, I'm supervising people under me as well as other supervisors.
And how does that work? Do you determine, yeah, I feel I'm ready to move to the next level, or does your supervisor say, hey, Stacy, you really got it together, let's take this next leap?
Sometimes the supervisors do recommend you, and they can pull you right off the thing to promote you. But to move up from a 1 supervisor to a 2, that definitely comes from upper management seeing you as being ready and being knowledgeable and being able to assist them. So
the key is to be prepared, ready, and do your job well, because people are noticing you, correct?
absolutely, yes.
Great.
Yes.
We have Wendy, who's raised her hand for a question. So Wendy, please jump in with your question.
Hi, good day. So my question is, when you're setting up a resume, like for example, Stacy was more into math, but she got into some more social work at HASA, I believe she mentioned. I'm an older student. When I say old, I'm going to be like Miss Foster and say I ain't sharing my age either, but I'm an older student. And this is actually like my 5th semester. But I have experience in like retail and a bunch of other jobs, but no, my major is early childhood. So how do you get a job knowing that, okay, well, this is my focus? Do you add that to your resume, but then try to negotiate when you get to that interview?
Absolutely. Yes, you can definitely try to negotiate. You can definitely try to negotiate. But as for me being a math major, being that I deal with like financial services for the clients, it helps me in my job because I'm able to run a lot of numbers. I'm able to calculate people's rent. I'm able to calculate how much cash they're getting, how much food stamps they're getting, different things like that. So even though I went to school for the math, it was a big help for me to be able to pass the test and score high, because the higher you score, the faster you're going to get promoted, the quicker they call you. So all of those things that I learned in school as far as writing papers, taking the math classes, that helped me score better on the test, and then that helped me be promoted here faster because I use those skills that I learned to for my job here within the city, so yes, so a lot of those things. Yeah.
Miraz, do you have something to add that can assist Wendy in kind of converting work skills that are not directly in line to her major, but clearly chime in or affect what she's doing in terms of finding or working in early childhood education?
Yes, of course. So, as I mentioned, I work in the IT, but majority of part of my work experience prior to 2018 was in the customer service in the restaurants. When I got here, I couldn't get any job other than working in Dunkin' Donuts in restaurant industries as a busboy. But I developed excellent customer service skill. I became very fluent in English, and that helped me a lot. So then I transitioned that to my interpersonal skill, my ability to get along with the people, to when I moved to the IT work environment. And then because I needed to talk to people, I needed to find solutions for some problems. And as the other panelists mentioned, that how the math improved her work skill as well. So nothing you are doing right now is, you cannot disregard that as not important. Everything is important right now. Even if your expertise, which you might see as very little, can come handy. For me, I also took the math classes in school, and that I use every day of my life here to critically thinking, analyzing the IT data, analyzing the incident tickets that I'm receiving, analyzing the related software issues, server issues, all this. So yeah, it is not. Please don't like bogged down by oh, my work experience is not important towards the job I'm looking forward to. No, it's how you are going to translate that and convert that experience and wording it into your resume, pinpoint that, and then you can actually implement that experience to your new role.
Wendy, were you at the session prior to the breakout rooms?
Yes, I came in a few minutes late because I was in another meeting, so I may have missed a few little points, maybe.
We had one of the panelists, Candace, I think Miller was her last name, spoke about everything you're doing now is kind of preparing you. And I'm gonna, hope she doesn't mind, I'm gonna ask Heather to chime in. Heather Logan was another one of our panelists who actually spoke to the aspect of everything you're doing is preparing you kind of for where you need to go. So hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot, Heather.
No, that's fine.
No, I don't mind. So the issue, I mean, the question was about how is mathematics?
No, it's about, she was saying that she is in or interested in studying early childhood education, but some of her experience has been in the retail end, and how on a resume does she, my word, communicate that what she is doing in terms of retail does in fact prepare and have something to do with the work or the job she ultimately wants to land in early childhood education.
I would definitely say if she's working in retail, the customer service, because that's very important, you know, dealing with parents, you know, if you're dealing with children, you have to deal with the parents.
Excellent.
How you know, your communication skills. Something that we have on the job is called PAI, Professional Accountability Integrity. If you were ever the employee of the month, just how you interact with you know, with everyone. I think that's very important. And you should be detailed when you're putting down the information from the retail. You know, detail exactly what you do, you know, what you do on a daily basis. You know, if it's just you're interacting with you know, the customers, maybe you're showing them something, you know, that they've had on sale, you know, you're trying to help them, and you know, you're trying to understand them too, because we know that, you know, it's good to treat each person as an individual, you know, so you're not treating them all the same. So it's the individuality of everything. Did I answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I have to say, I love that people actually love math. I have a joke. I graduated from Howard, and the year after I started, math was a requirement to graduate with a degree in liberal arts. I'd still be at Howard if I had to take a math course. So, you know, God kind of meets you where you are. Do we have any other questions from the chat? Oh, great. Like, that information is excellent. Wendy has in the chat, I tutor math at the GED program at Lehman. That type of information absolutely goes on a resume and strengthens it. And I would make the connection in terms of the early childhood education. The fact that you're tutoring shows that you have patience, you can work with, and once you get into the interview setting, that is kind of when you get to sell yourself. I'm going to ask a question that in case until we get more questions, what can you discuss a little of how networking, the importance of networking, or how networking played a role in the progression of your career, if it did? I think sometimes we underestimate the importance of networking or connecting, like, I'm a CUNY graduate. Oh my gosh, you're a CUNY graduate. Those type of discussions. So Stacy or Miraz, oops, if you want to discuss, or if you can discuss networking a little.
Yes. So when I heard about this CUNY Simplicity, it was through one of my former classmates who completed his associate a year early than me. So then he mentioned it, and because he started his fellowship in formerly Do It, which is now Office of Technology and Innovation. So that networking is a very little networking that helped me and pointed me to the right direction and got me into the fellowship. Then I became a full-time employee of the city. So yes, and then I also made the networking with my coworker here, and I tried to ask questions. Is there any opening here? Which sector? I let the people know which sectors I'm interested in. Of course, I was really interested in the information security. So there are excellent people here. There are a division here called organization development who there are excellent people to reach out to. You can actually reach out to them, ask questions. There are informations available. So yes, so I would say that even though you might not have the time, but keep every day, have a small conversation with the people around you. When you are on lunch, reach out to them via Teams, ask them like what their day-to-day work is like. Maybe it is in a different sector, but it might pique your interest depending on the daily work they do.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm just talking, and you would think 3 years later I would remember to unmute. Stacy, can you talk a little about networking, and if it worked for you, if it didn't, any advice if someone is intimidated about the notion of networking?
I think networking is definitely helpful. That's why I'm here today doing the CUNY event, because I was networking. I was out recruiting, hiring for different positions for the city, and they recruited me for this. And that's because I was out there networking. And so they saw me. And so sometimes it's the people that you don't see that notice you, that you leave an impression with. And so that's definitely important. You just want to make sure, that you're always leaving a good impression. And, because like I said, people that you never notice that are looking at you, they're watching you. And networking also helps you get other opportunities so even though myself, I am a little nervous about putting myself out there. I was nervous about doing the panel, sweating, everything. But sometimes you do have to put yourself out there, even if you are uncomfortable, to get to where you want to go in life, So it's all, just getting out of that comfort zone. Even for myself, I have to like pump myself up. And so, you know, yeah, just putting yourself out there, relating to other people, because there's always people that can relate to you on different levels that you don't even realize other people are going through what you're going to, may have the same questions, the same fears. And so, yes, networking is very important, you know. So.
Stacy, I think like the words that both of you gave on networking, but especially in terms of people are watching you when you don't know they're watching you, and putting yourself out there. And Miraz, as you said, like just hitting someone up on Teams, or hey, can we grab a cup of coffee or tea or something? It is very daunting. But for the record, Stacy, you're doing an excellent job. So I'm glad.
Thank you.
So I see your hand, Miraz. I want you to jump in, but can I, building off of this question, and you both can answer it, and Miraz, of course, you're next. Do either of you, or did either of you have professional mentors that kind of helped you and guided you? So Miraz, let's go with you. Comment on whatever you wanted to, and then if you can go into whether you had professional networks, or if there's someone that you're able to reach out to when you have questions in your professional setting.
Yes, I raised my hand to discuss about a different topic, but I would get to that later. First, let me answer that. So my professional mentor, when I joined as a fellow, that became a person. That person is John Noble, who is currently my manager. I was working directly under him, and he provided me the guidelines, the importance of importance of the job that the CMDB team as a whole is doing. That piqued my interest. Provided me guideline with the online courses that I should take, the certification, the industry certifications, ITIL, ServiceNow certifications, all these. So he's still my mentor. He's the manager. I still reach out to him time to time. Of course, the mentor, having a mentor is very important, and also not just, it's not also the mentor's responsibility, it's also my responsibility to always keep an open mind to learn something, ask something to not a designated mentor, but any other person that I come across, any other manager, or even my subordinate, that their expertise can be valuable, and that I can also view as a like a mentorship as well. So I would say yes. My mentor helped me a lot. That's because that's the reason I'm here today now. And that's the reason I want to continue to work in the public sector in this IT industry. Thank you.
Okay, before Miraz, hold on to your change of topic thought. Stacy, could you just jump in and talk about if you've had a professional mentor, or who you go to if you have professional or work-related questions?
Yes, I do have a mentor. Like when I got hired as a supervisor, she's still my mentor now. Like she was my supervisor at that time, and she taught me so much about the work and how to respond in emails, about different ways that people, like how to respond like professionally in the emails and even now that I've moved up, she also moved up. And even though I don't work directly under her, I call her all the time and still ask for guidance and her advice and certain ways to supervise and to handle all of the responsibilities that I have, you know, because I want to make sure that I'm doing things correctly or professional, you know, all those things. So I definitely have a mentor, and she still is. And and then I also built up other mentors along the way of different, you know, different things. So I ask a lot of questions, and I like to learn. And so I make sure that I get knowledge any way it comes to. So, you know, so that's how.
Great.
Yeah.
Got to be in it to win it. Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, back to you, Miraz. Tell us your little pivot that you wanted to talk about. Change the subject.
Okay. First of all, I wanted to thank Wendy because she's teaching math for a GED student. When I first came in this country in 2013, I had to do the GED. So I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much. And the topic that I wanted to talk about is the public sectors. The New York City's Office of Technology and Innovation is funded by the taxpayers' money. So the city tax, and then state tax, and then there are some federal fund that comes in. So every dollar that is being spent for development of this great city is funded by us, basically. So when I work every day, I come to work, I try to make sure that I do my work. I'm not lacking. I'm not wasting the taxpayers' money. That's the type of integrity I think we need to maintain as a city employees, because of course, number one is the taxpayers' money, and number two is our money. That's basically we are working for ourselves, our improvement. Yes, I'm not paying probably $1 billion tax budget, but maybe from my few cents of tax percentage is going to that budget. But my mom's, my dad's, my sisters, my cousins, their tax money is going here. So I try to make sure that knowingly I do not waste that money. And also I try to improve as much as possible, because that improvement will go to the improvement of the New York City's IT department. Before, when I used to complain about of the other city agencies' work, the development of the roads, construction, like why it's taking so much time, why this is holding up. Now, when I come to work, I see that yes, other people are complaining about us too. So I have to improve as well. I cannot just complain, and then I cannot be here. And then I do not help myself, I do not improve myself and improving the cities. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for the working in the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you. That is helpful. I think we tend to forget, or not, I won't say forget, we just don't consciously think of how important work is in the public sector, and we need it for the city, state, local municipalities to run. We have a few minutes left. I want to ask a question. I mean, of course, in 2020, we know everyone's 5-year plan was off because none of us expected pandemic and all that happened after it. Can both of you, and please also you, Heather, jump in and let us know a little about how these last few years either impacted or changed your industry or changed your trajectory. Stacy, you mentioned earlier, maybe had things been different, you'd have stayed on a math education path. So if you can discuss that just a little on how things changed. And in my head, I'm thinking, I know at CUNY, we had to pivot. And that is the word that resonates with me, is being able to pivot, be it with your career, your major, whatever it is. So please jump in and tell us a little about that.
Well, during the pandemic, as far as the city, we had to pivot, like as far as like working from home. That was a new thing. We all got laptops and had to set up the systems to work remotely. And then we went to like a hybrid schedule. And so that was a big change that I'm hoping that the city also can implement in the future, because a lot of those things that brought us to change are not bad things. So hopefully, some of those things we do keep and are able to incorporate into, getting things back to normal, but also moving towards the future. But as far as the math education, when I had to steer away from that, it was just kind of, it was just more like a family decision, because one of the good city benefits that I like is they do give you that leeway to stay home with your family for up to 4 years. And so that kind of, when I started my family, that kind of took precedence. And so that's why, I kind of stuck with the city, because I was able to get that time to be home. And then, then I just kind of started getting promoted, and I just fell into the track of, working. So, but like I said, I'm eventually I do want to go back into the math education, because I love math as well. That's my, yeah. So that's why I do math things at work. Everything, I want to use what I did go to school for. But yeah, definitely. With the pandemic, it was a big change, but I think that it also opened our eyes up to a lot more things that we can move towards and move in a different direction, move in a good direction.
I would definitely say for my agency, I work with Family Independence Administration under the Department of Social Services. I don't want to say how long I've worked there, but it's been a little over 30 years. But one thing that I could say that my agency, we definitely, it was to me amazing that, once they started giving us the laptops, that once you logged in, everything that you could get in the office, you were able to get at home. We were able to service the clients. We were able to find different ways to scan and index the documents. And just before the pandemic, I think like maybe about 2 years before, they have this thing called on demand. And with the on demand, they started only having it for food stamps. So today now, actually Monday, we finally went on board to doing it with cash assistance, meaning that you can call in for an appointment and they're putting you on demand on the telephones. Wow. And with them doing this new on demand, you can work hybrid and you can also work in the office. And this is something now that the union 371, 1549, they're putting that in the contract. And because of the on demand, staff will be able to work from home as well as, work in the office, and clients will get 100% satisfaction. And what I like about the on demand is that normally it's 24 different centers within the 5 boroughs. So the workers have something that's called the C4 access, that they can interview for any client in any borough. So now as you're waiting, instead of you're just waiting maybe for, sometimes it's hours, now you're only waiting minutes, because somebody in Brooklyn can interview you, process the case, and do all of that. So definitely I could say with the technology, it's brought the agencies to another level. So if you're sick, just like today, I'm sick, I'm not at work, I can work home remotely, still, manage my staff, still manage everything, just like I'm in the office. And, and to me, it builds self-esteem. It helps you to love the job more, because you can work from home and, you can work in the office. But right now everybody's at 100%. It's just that, if you're sick, your supervisor can say, you know what, go ahead, work from home today. So, you don't have to use a sick day. You can save your days for other things. And, it's really good. The only small thing that I don't like about it, I guess with the COVID time, is the networking part. Yeah. You go on Teams and, you see people, but it's not the same, like when you were on the job. So like about last week, we had a meeting, first meeting that all the directors, the deputies, upper management, we went to one bowling green. And it was just so nice to actually see people and say, even if you're not hugging them or touching them, just to see them in person. And then again, to start the networking, because there's a lot of people that's retiring, and you could say, hey, oh my goodness, you're still here, you have this opening, and now you can actually go in and that name to a face to say, okay, you know what, I met this person. Because I know we were talking about networking before, and to me there's no silly question. You go over, you introduce yourself, and you just start a conversation. You could start a conversation as you're waiting to get some water, waiting to do something, and it's just maybe that one word that may just stick out, and then you put your resume in, they call you, and you say, oh, wait a minute, I remember you, and then you just start that conversation there.
And I know I started right before, like literally maybe a month before the pandemic. So when I finally got to meet people in person, like one person, I was like, oh, you look tall on Zoom, and you're not tall, so that's really good. But I want to hear from you, Miraz, because you probably made it possible for all of us to be able to work from home.
It's not just me. I probably did less than 0.001%, but it's also all the other teams, the desktop engineering team, the networking team, everybody. So yes, but other one of the important things I think I was and our team was part of is the bags for NYC, and another one is possibly the food for NYC. I believe that was for if anybody needed assistance during the pandemic for food, they could log in, apply to the app, and then the foods will be delivered to their house. So that was I was part of, and when we were working from home at that time, I was actually a fellow, not a full-time employee of the city. So during that time, our fellowship program, which at the very beginning was like a very interactive networking. We used to meet before in person, get together every week or once in a month, but that changed. That kind of became not just only about the career, but about the well-being of us, the fellows and the interns. And I greatly appreciated that the personnel there, Carolyn True, and a lot of other RFQs personnel that I don't remember the name of, that helped me a lot during this unprecedented time. And then one other thing I want to mention about this pandemic that caused in the IT industry is that at the very beginning, we saw influx of hiring, different software developer who can work remotely, of course, because at that time there were infrastructure needed to be built rapidly to be maintained because suddenly a huge number of employees shifted to home and working from a home. So that is a totally different thing that you have to maintain, that you have to support. And now we are seeing the result that now that is not needed anymore. A lot of 30% or 40% may be returned in a lot of offices. So that's why you were seeing that a lot of IT industries, software companies are letting the people go. It's not just because of the financial recession, that also because they don't need them anymore, because that support, that requirements is ended. So, and one thing became clear to me during this pandemic time, as you mentioned that we used to have like a 5-year plan. Now that term, I would say that it became much shorter. I would say it's 2 years, because in 2 years' time, things will change rapidly. One of the things that I want to mention is the AI, about this chat GPT that we were seeing. So a lot of the knowledge-based work will be affected. For an example, if somebody works in a radiology department and then he or she have to go through a lot of images to identify certain if this image looks cancerous or something. And based on that, he or she would recommend to the doctor, like, okay, this is the priority this is the priority that. But now with the AI, it doesn't have to be a person. There are millions of images out there. The AI would just go through that, and then I would say that 99% of the time, it would identify and categorize that. So, and then based on that, it can automatically send the recommendation to the doctor. So everything will change very soon. We have to be up to date. We have to sharpen our knowledge, and we have to be open to switch our roles as in maybe industry. Maybe I'm working in the IT. Maybe I should be able to switch it to something in the near future. So that we need to keep in mind always.
Thank you. So I got my wrap it up. So I want to end with a question for both of you to answer in the next 2 minutes. What would you tell, or what advice would you give your younger self? Or if you were graduating now, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, I would tell myself that, yeah, please don't get older. More responsibilities. I know. Yes, I definitely give myself one advice. I have a lot of things that comes in mind, but enjoy the little things. I tell myself, because once you enjoy the little things, you are less stressed. You can concentrate on your studies, your career, your family, because these little things will help you to focus. Because during the graduation, during the study time, one of the main issue that I face is that losing focus, because I thought that I was unhappy.
Right.
But I forgot the things that I should have enjoyed at that time. And if I could enjoy it at that moment, I think I would be a lot happier. Yeah. Thank you.
Stacy?
I would just say, just kind of, like follow your dreams, like don't stop, continue to do what you feel that you really want to do and be happy. Don't feel like you have to do something or get stuck in one thing. Just network, follow your dreams. That's it. Get to know people and work hard.
Great.
Take your knowledge. That's it.
Thank you both very much. Heather, do you want to chime in our last like 30 something seconds before we cut off? You're on mute.
I got it.
Oh,
so
okay.
what I would say to my younger self would be, don't be afraid. I was always very quiet, very laid back, wanted to stay in the shadows. And when things were I would wait until something was offered to me. Now I'm more aggressive. I'm not afraid to volunteer. I'm not afraid to go and ask for anything